You made it. Welcome back, you BEA beautiful souls. Today's video, we're going to cover a lot about the new For Honor update. Tons of freaking changes. That's right. Hitokiri nerfs, Varangian nerfs, LAWBRINGER buffs, Peacekeeper testing grounds rework on her feats. Pretty freaking crazy. Warden is going to be releasing it as well with all of his new buffs to his feats. And of course, the Zhanhu skin. Let me know if you guys think it's drippy or not. I think it's pretty solid. I'm probably going to buy it. It reminds me, well, they said it was about Zhanhu, if I believe. If you guys are any Dynasty Warrior fans out there that are into Three Kingdoms, that's what it's about, if I recall. Let me know, all those lore experts. Tell me if I'm wrong and give me a breakdown. Give me a rundown of what the skin is about, because I wasn't paying too much attention, but I was listening respectfully while I was having nosebleed. So a lot to go over. Let's just quickly go over as much as we can and as fast as we can for you BEA beautiful viewers out there. And so Peacekeeper's tier 1 feat crossbow wound. It's gonna fire a crossbow bolt at your target. It deals 5 raw damage and then 10 bleed damage. The cooldown is 30 seconds and it replaces Bounty Hunter. Quite a controversial tier 1 in my opinion. Remember, this is testing grounds for Peacekeeper. It's not going to go live tomorrow. This is something that they're dealing with. They just want to do something strong or something weak, something weird, something interesting, something quirky for the player base to play with. Now, here's the thing about the tier 1 or projectile as a tier 1, okay? The thing about projectiles, and specifically a 15 damage projectile for 30-second cooldown, is that it is annoying. It is objectively annoying, especially depending on the speed of it. Let's just compare this with Orochi real quick. So Orochi, he has a dagger that's 15 damage, just 15 damage that is raw, and the cooldown is 30 seconds, and the activation time, which is the speed of when you need to dodge it, is 400 ms. So this is pretty much unreactable. This is unreactable unless you're focusing strictly on the animation. And the thing is, for this specific kunai, is that it has a huge hitbox, like absolutely ginormous hitbox. So depending on how close you are, how far you are, even if you're far away, this can still hit you. Even if you're close, if you're super close, there's no way you're dodging this, even if you're reacting to the animations. You have to do it pretty much on prediction. And so you will fight an Orochi, and he will kunai you every single fight. At the beginning of a fight, if he doesn't finish you off in 15 seconds, in the fight lasts 30 seconds, he's going to hit you with the kunai again. So that's free 30 damage. Now for Peacekeeper, this helps her out, especially in 1v1s and 4v4s, because now you're bleeding, and now she can initiate some ganks. If you don't know, Peacekeeper has some pretty insane ganks. Fairly easy to do. You just don't know it yet. But if you do know it, she's pretty strong. And she's already a pretty strong pick right now if you've got the reads and the reactions for it. Most players don't, so she's fairly easy to walk over on. But if you do, you can pretty much always, or most of the time, be on top of the scoreboard, clearing minion lane, getting some easy kills, getting some good 1v1s if you're fast enough. And with this tier 1, it's just going to enhance your ability to, destroy you. And so this is a very strong feat. I don't think we need more projectiles in the game. It's fairly, I don't know, it's egregious to deal with from time to time, in my opinion. But this is going to be a pretty strong feat to test out. I want to see how strong it is. Dealing 5 damage raw is a good idea. Maybe if it just did all bleed, that'd be a different situation. But it does deal some raw damage. Easy way to finish someone off if you don't have time to, just throw a raw heavy and finish off the unblockables. But it's really good. But it does remove Bounty Hunter, which is one of her best tier 1s. I don't know why they're replacing it, to be honest. Kind of crazy to me, in my opinion, because Bounty Hunter is a very good tier 1. Really, really good, but maybe they don't want you to have the options between having 2 good tier 2s or tier 1s. I don't know. That's just Ubisoft. Hitting a bleeding opponent gives you plus 20% defense buff for 5 seconds. Cannot be reapplied while active. So during the 5 seconds, you can't just, forward heavy attack and get some chip damage and then, have another 5% defense buff. You have to wait till the duration is over. There's no cooldown, and it replaces Fiat Lux, which is one of her best tier 2 feats. I just don't know why they didn't replace Thick Skin, which is already some damage reduction on the character, and it's a bit confusing to me. I don't know why they didn't decide to do it, because Thick Skin is essentially that. It is quite frankly that. The difference with those 2 feats specifically is that Thick Skin, after taking a hit, you receive 25% less damage for 3 seconds, okay? So it's 5% more and then 2% less, 2 seconds less. And it's triggered by attacks or bashes hitting you, and even by a guard break. But it's not triggered by chip damage. So if the tier 2 feat bleed armor is not triggered by chip damage, which they don't say, but it might just be an automatic thing in their code. So you can't do chip, you have to do actual raw damage that lands. This seems like an okay feat. Just kind of reminds me of all the new Outlanders that have their tier 2s where they get buffs, defense buffs, while landing superior blocks and all that good stuff. So this one I don't have too much of an issue with. I feel like it's going to be a strong feat, but it's also going to be redundant, and it removes one of the best feats that she has, Fiat Lux, which they just did. It just helps her out 1v1 from time to time. It's a fun build to do where you set someone up and they're blinded. You can go into your offense, and it's just really good at mid clearing. So crazy that they did that, but we'll see how it works in testing grounds. So tier 3 is going to be quite an interesting tier 3. So this is called Deflect Expert. It's a passive. You can now deflect attacks without matching their attack directions, and it replaces crossbow. So you can't have 2 projectiles in your arsenal anymore. So what this does is that if someone is looking away from you, basically, or externaling you, a lot of players don't know what those words mean, but if they're not targeting you, they're targeting your friend, and they do like a zone, a very big move that hits all around them, you can deflect that down. You can automatically deflect that by dodging. You don't have to match the direction of the attack either. Now, a lot of characters won't have such a huge hitbox to abuse in 1v2 situations, but this makes her a very scary character to try to, attack externally. So you gotta be very careful. If that Afira or Rochi wants to zone you, and there's a teammate behind you, you can deflect that move now, and it's gonna be very strong. And this is gonna be I don't know how easy it's going to be in real time, because you still have to react to red, but it's gonna be quite an interesting tier 3 in my opinion. So that, you guys will let me know what you guys think about that, but it's pretty freaking insane. It's really cool. You could deflect attacks beforehand, external attacks, but it was really tight time. This just allows you to automatically parry it. Honestly, pretty sick. Really sick, and they just didn't, I guess they didn't want Peacekeeper to have an unblockable deflect while they're adding this buff. So silly Yippee slop. Anyways, moving on to tier 4 feat, which is really crazy as well. Induce Fear. It is a passive. Peacekeepers applies a 20% defense debuff to all enemies within a 6-meter radius. Replaces Fear itself. So this just removes Fear itself on its own. And if you know what Fear itself does, Fear itself basically makes all the enemies around you have a 40% debuff. Alright, 40% debuff, 8-meter AoE that moves around with you and lasts 20 seconds. So this lasts 20 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 180 seconds. So compare this to tier 4 feat. If you manage to get, maybe like your feats early on, your tier 4 feats early on, midway through the game, you're absolutely stomping, or towards like maybe the 3rd act of the team fights and the game, this will allow you to have an infinite amount of defense debuffs when you are 6-meter radius, a 6-meter radius. And mind you, Fear itself is about 8 meters, so you lose about 2 meters, but the range of Fear itself is fairly large still. It's fairly large, and so 6 meters is a nerf, but this allows you to have 20% defense debuff without doing anything. So you just stay there menacingly, and you induce Fear on them. So this is going to be very strong. In my opinion, you're going to have this the entire time. There is no cooldown, and there is no activation time. You just automatically get this. So she's actually standing there menacingly. Very strong, and I cannot wait to try this out in testing ground. I don't know, she's actually fairly strong in 4v4 if you have the reactions and the game sense and all the good stuff, but this is just going to make her a lot stronger, like absolutely a lot stronger. And so that's pretty much it for Peacekeeper. We're going to move on to Warden. So this Warden, if you guys didn't know, last testing grounds, Warden also got into the testing grounds, and they fixed his feats as well. So the tier 1 is going to remain the same. You get 3 health and 3 stamina while killing minions. The tier 2, they're getting rid of Fiat Lux, which is kind of crazy to me. They're getting rid of it, and it's crazy because they also reworked it, which is just ridiculous. It gets replaced by Enfeeble, which is, if you haven't played it before, hitting an opponent with shoulder bash now reduces their attack damage by 10% for 10 seconds. It used to be 20%, now it's just 10%, which is pretty strong still in my opinion. Very strong. I'm surprised they didn't reduce it to 5 seconds, because reducing the damage by 10 seconds is crazy when shoulder bash is the main move to be using. It's the unreactable mix from Warden. Warden 1v1 is fairly strong, but we'll just see how this plays out. Warden mains rejoice, Warden mains be eaten, And a tier 3 takedown, which is you activate it and you throw somebody, they fall down. That has been removed by total recovery. This is where you heal a teammate and they come at full HP, which is pretty sick. Nothing like super freaking strong, but it is strong if you do have a teammate that allows you to res, because you get back into the fight right away. And catapult and trebuchet is, I think it's still the same. So trebuchet calls on a quick trebuchet strike over an area for 70 damage. No follow-up damage. Damage dealt 1 second after the feat is used. 180-second cooldown. I don't remember if this kept the same, but I believe it is, because it's still 1 second, and 1 second is fairly hard to react to, given that it is pretty much an instant attack. So it's 70 damage. I mean, you do need a strong tier 4 anyways, but you guys let me know if they need to decrease the speed of this move, because it is fairly strong in testing grounds when we did play it. Now, Sohei is getting a pretty big buff. Opener heavies now deal uninterruptible stance, which you should have gotten in the beginning. I just think they forgot to add it or didn't have enough time, but it comes out at 400 ms, which is pretty standard. He has very slow heavies as well. I believe they are 900 ms. Mad Monk, which is his neutral zone attack, fairly huge hitbox. It also gets hyper armor too, so now you can trade in team fights if you wanted to. Just zone into a chain zone, and then boom, shock lock. You got some good team damage in there, although you might have gotten hit yourself, but I'd say this is a pretty good trade. You have some synergy with your teammates and getting in some damage. Now, Sohei also gains a soul whenever a soul attack trades on the same frame as opponent's attack. There was a bug where if you traded, you wouldn't get a soul on one of your light attacks, or you're unblockable if you traded with them with a light check or something like that. So now he does get a soul. So that's a bug fix. It's a buff for Sohei though. So he can no longer gain souls on successful bulwarks countered by Blackprior. So Blackprior flipped it. He used to get souls, but now he doesn't. So that's a bug fix. So that's a pretty good buff for Sohei. I'm not gonna lie to you. Really good buff. Just more hyper armor to give him more of a tanky feel. And yeah, I feel like this is gonna make him pretty freaking solid. But he may need some adjustments in the future. But right now, let's just play around with it, see how it is. Lawbringer is going to get some serious changes, man. So there's new moves. They didn't show it to us, though. So precise jurisdiction and final jurisdiction performed by pressing light attack or heavy attack during a front dodge. This is essentially the roll catcher, but they didn't show us the move. I don't know what it looks like, but at least we're going to roll catcher. So tomorrow we'll see. Top heavy opener now deals 25 damage, up for 23. And side heavy opener now deals 24 damage for 22. And so the raw damage has been improved, but there's a problem with just buffing the damage values. The problem is that he has a follow-up light tap. I don't remember if they did say that they removed the follow-up light tap, let me know. But that would ruin his unblockable mix-up that makes him so strong. And so if they increase the damage to top heavy opener, if you just do a top heavy opener, deals 25 damage, you get a follow-up guarantee of 5 damage from the tap. So it's a 30 damage raw heavy. And then the side heavy opener deals 24 damage and another 5 damage, which is 29 damage. If you get a light parry, you do 30 damage for your Admon Minimikus, and then if you land like a side heavy with a guard break, you do 29 damage. Unless they specifically said that they're nerfing the follow-up tap to deal 1 or 2 damage, which is also what I recommended, like the side heavy opener dealing 24 damage and then the tap dealing 1 damage, or side heavy opener dealing 23 damage and then the follow-up tap dealing 2 damage, then it's gonna be broken. He's gonna have the highest damage values for a guard break. I mean, the top heavy is fine because it's slower and it should deal more damage. This will really help him out in ganks especially. But right now, I would love to see these moves. They didn't show any of it, which is crazy to me. Like, why would you not show in the testing grounds? Maybe they didn't have time. I mean, the release is coming tomorrow anyways. But this is a crazy change for Lawbringer. Very, very good change. I'm super happy about it as a Lawbringer player. As the only Lawbringer main out there. I'm just kidding. But they didn't do anything in long arm. He has a roll catcher now, so I think he's going to be a pretty solid character right now. So, another big change. Huge change. Hitokiri. Huge nerfs. This is a heavy class, mind you. And now they have nerfed her HP by 15%. I mean, 15 health bars. So it's 125 now, down from 140. So basically imagine Berserker having the same health pool. She's basically a Berserker without any 4MS light attacks. She's just hyper armor all the time. She also has reduced stamina, 120 down from 130, which is a huge nerf. Ray Kick and Ray Sweep no longer drain stamina. That's also a very well-deserved nerf. Should have been done a while ago. BPs and Warden are the only characters left, I believe, that drain stamina on their bashes. Endless Mirror now has less forward movement, so that is basically her heavy spam attacks, if I recall correctly. So yeah, that's a pretty freaking big nerf to the character. The health nerfs, I mean, they essentially, I don't think it's gonna be like, it's gonna kill her, but it's gonna stop new players from just winning all your games, you know, because like a rep 1 Hitokiri is gonna kick my ass if I'm not paying attention. Like, that's just the fact of the matter is, if a good player is using Hitokiri, you've pretty much lost your game. Like, if I'm on point and I'm just chilling at like 1 AM, I'm playing Hitokiri, it's basically Gojo over for you, because Hitokiri is so abusable with her variable timed heavies. Her kick mix-up is very strong. She basically tracks you and has undodgeable heavies, even though they nerfed the hitboxes of her chain heavies, but they're nerfing the forward momentum of her heavies now, which is going to be very good. Like, that's actually insane. And so the infant is not going to be as strong when you back dodge, so it probably won't catch you, but this is still going to track you on side dodge. So this is still going to make her good if you didn't rely strictly on just spamming heavies and relying on trades, because the 15 HP is a big difference. It allows you to not tank certain hits anymore. But remember, she still has Bastion, Vengeful Barrier, and Last Stand to tank, and she also has a tier 2 that when she does parry, which is Righteous Deflection, she gets a crap ton of defense. I believe it's about 50% defense damage reduction, so it's very strong still. Hitokiri did deserve this nerf, but this nerf is not really what she needed. I think they just need to remove the neutral hyper from her heavy attack and reduce the hitboxes, and then boom shakalaka, she's an okay character. She should still keep that heavy health numbers, or of course they're probably going to remove and nerf the perks in general. But that's a pretty big nerf for Hitokiri mains. Hitokiri mains are definitely going to have to be a little bit more skill based now, and you guys can probably just get stomped on. So Varangian Guard also got nerfed as well. So these are the big two. Superior block window on the Falling Light attacks has been standardized to 200 ms down from 300 ms. So when you superior block, when you full block, or when you crushing counter, she had one of the best crushing counters, because now they're not activated as early anymore. So now they just essentially, you have to do it basically on a very good read, or you are not just doing it on red anymore. And Varangian Guard was the freest character of all time. She had on her dodge forward light. She also has a dodge light attack. She also had full block recoveries on pretty much everything. And so this allows her to not just spam the full block, even though you let a raw heavy fly. And that's going to be very good. So many times where I just throw a light, I time the light perfectly, or I time the heavy, or just throw a raw heavy, and she's full block super early, and she still gets me with a full block. So they're nerfing that, and they said that they can't nerf the pin duration, which is 1600 ms pin duration, because it's kind of like glued down to the team fight mechanics, where she has to like wait for everyone to get pinned if someone like hits her again. This is going to be very complicated if they decide to nerf the duration. I think that's okay as long as they nerf the window of the superior block, and just nerfing the crushing counters in general. I think that's okay. So this is a okay nerf. This is a well-deserved nerf, but maybe we'll see more in the future for this character, because she has a 100% ban rate in comp games. Nobody wants to fight her. Nobody wants to fight her in comp games, and nobody wants to fight her in matchmaking either. But even though I love playing Varangian off stream, I love spamming my full block. She's so fucking OP. I freaking love it. Now Nuxia is crazy because she's also got a new buff. Zone attack is a 2-hit zone. The first hit is going to be 500 ms and deals 11 damage. So she has a viable zone now, a viable opener to start her mix-ups, which is very good. Like, it's actually very good. The second hit is 800 ms and it deals 24 damage. It can be feinted or soft feinted into a trap. So this kind of helps her out in having an okay opener. Like, she did have an okay opener with her heavy into traps, but like there was so many option selects for her that you had, if you weren't like focused or making really good reads, you're just gonna get hit by literally everything. And if you're focused enough, she's actually gonna be fairly scary right now. This is kind of a nerf to the zone, which is kind of good too, because when you did a raw zone, your GB vulnerabilities were like basically non-existent. So you can't just use this and get like a 29 damage zone anymore. And it's also nerfs some of her mix-ups too, because if you get a light parry on Nuxia, I don't do this because I don't have the muscle memory before, but not a lot of Nuxias, high-level Nuxias, will use the light parry, and then they throw a trap. No, they throw a zone attack and then use a trap mix-up, which does 32 damage afterwards. So it's 32 damage light parry. So kind of insane. And if they change their guard, it's still 29 damage light parry punish. You know, you obviously you're also still in frame advantage because it's a heavy attack. So they landed the heavy attack, you can throw a light attack right afterwards. So that's a pretty big change for Nuxia. It's a nerf, but it's also a big change. The next thing is that they also fixed Berserker's dodge tech. If you playing 1v1s, God bless your soul. I don't play 1v1s anymore, but I'm sure Berserkers were spamming that unlock tech 24/7, especially at high level. You basically just be able to like dodge cancel target swap away in a 1v1. So obviously super cancerous, but something that I didn't have to deal with. I already deal with that on a day-to-day basis because I fight berserkers all the time in 4v4, and they're already pretty much dodge canceling away from me anyways. Especially since I'm playing Tomboy or War Mommy, you know what I'm saying? But that's pretty much all of the big changes that we have gotten. I mean, this has been a pretty crazy patch notes. The testing grounds was pretty much a letdown, but I'd say the patch notes kind of saved it. And the skin itself, I think it looks pretty solid. The weapon skins, the battle pass weapons look really cool. The armor sets and variations, they always look amazing as always. Ocelotto always do be eaten, and the Woolen always be eaten too. There's some really good battle pass weapons out there in my opinion. But I mean, overall, I think this is going to be a pretty good update for Peacekeepers, for Wardens especially. Warden's getting a huge change. And there's a lot of good things coming for players. I think the game's going to be playable since they're nerfing Hitokiri, Varangian Guard. I can't wait to test out the Peacekeeper testing grounds. It looks really insane. I want to see how strong it is. I think the tier 4 is going to be busted, but that's just my first initial opinion. And at this moment in time, I just don't think Peacekeeper is good, like I said before. But with this, she's going to be absolutely menacing. Like, absolutely menacing, I tell you what. So let me know what you guys think about the Lawbringer rework or Lawbringer buffs. I want to see the Rollcatcher. Hopefully it's good, and there's a bunch of other changes too coming, so I can't wait to play. I'll be streaming tomorrow as well, probably around the same-ish time, maybe around 12 p.m. Central Time or 11 p.m. Central Time. And then, yeah, thank you so much for watching the stream today, guys. All my YouTube chatters and my Twitch chatters. Love you guys. Check out the Dark Tide videos. Also been streaming Dark Tide as well, because you can't just play For Honor the entire time. Otherwise, you just commit Sudoku. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful night. Bye-bye. See you later.